listeners, Assalamu alaikum. I am Mariam Khan. Welcome to another episode of the Info Corridor Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, Kashmir is a region known for bloodshed, political instability, militarization, and human rights exploitation. This turbulent history stems from fighting for its right to self determination ever since the partition of Indo Pak subcontinent. In 2019, India shocked the world by suddenly scrapping away the Article 370 and 35A. Ever since, occupied Kashmir has faced incessant curfews, blatant human rights violation, and demographic changes. Indo-Pak standoff over Kashmir has the potential to blow out of proportion into a full-fledged nuclear conflict. Having this in mind, Pakistan has time and again called for peaceful resolution of the Kashmir dispute, but to no avail. To talk on Kashmir conundrum, we have with us Brigadier retired Saif. Dr. Saifur Rahman Malik, Tamkai Imtiaz, is endowed with the professional skills in the abide of research and publication, administration and management, and faculty role at very prestigious and prime institutions of the country. Dr. Saif also joined ISSI as Director India Study Center in January 2020. So, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Maria.
So, what motivated the Indo Pak ceasefire and what are its strategic implications for the region?
Uh, at the outset, first of all, let me extend my gratitude for the InfoTalk forum, this corridor of InfoTalk. I think this forum is quite pertinent in the wake of the current geopolitical development at the region, at the globe, and it has diversified implications. My all appreciation for all of you for taking this wonderful initiative, which is very educating and enlightening, enthusiastic as well by nature. The topic which you have chosen today for me, I think this topic is very closer to my heart. It has a number of reasons for that, which I will not go further. But you will, during my course of interaction and communication, you will find out why this spirit is with me to talk on the issue. To start with the question that the ceasefire agreement between Pakistan and its strategic implications in the long run. First of all, you know that this is the most recent development when the DGMOs of two countries get in touch with each other and they make a pledge that let's have a, let's have an agreement not to violate the LOC. So this development was basically between the two military leaders, and of course it is important in the sense that this communication between Director General Military Operation is not a new phenomena. In the past, they used to talk even on the weekly basis, and even they do talk when when an on-record basis. So this development gave a surprise to so many circles at the various people sitting at the helm fair, whether this is academia or the think tank. But my the perspective is today's a perspective of an academic person come a person who is a part of a think tank, that how we look at this development. First of all, had there been a ceasefire, this would be welcomed, of course, because our people are the biggest sufferer as a result of LOC, and they have suffered a lot because they lost their lives and property. So this side and that side, they will see it as a welcome development. To me as well. But the point is, what is in the back of mind? especially from the Indian side, once they go for this movement, considering the track record of India, especially 2014 and ever since the Narendra Modi is sitting in the Delhi and ruling the country and his regime, considering the previous practices, present practices, on ground realities, and the changes at the global level, especially the Biden administration in US. So they might have thought over it that there might be some voices from the Biden's administration on the human rights violation in Kashmir. So they better go for a lead and initiative and to give a reflection to the world that probably this issue is bilateral and we, Pakistan and India, are going to sort it out and to resolve it. They just wanted to communicate a signal to the Biden administration and the world. To me, this is a fun. To me, this is a tactical movement, a tactical move by India to give an indication to the world that we are going to discuss the issue, so better you people keep quiet on account of Kashmir and the all human rights violations. So for the strategic implications is concerned, had this ceasefire been between Pakistan and India, followed by a mechanized mechanism, a solid mechanism, a robust mechanism where there should be follow up by the political leadership of the both, foreign office of both countries, then I think this would have more confidence on a person like me. But having a talk between two DGMOs is not, that means half of the glass is yet empty and is not filled. So its strategy to me, it is a tactical move by India just to give a message to the world that Pakistan, that we are open for talk and we are going to resolve the issue. So this is a tactical move. To me, it is not supported at the moment till the government of Pakistan and India, they come out with a mechanism, well tracked out roadmap that how they will go beyond this development. So to me, it's a tactical movement, and another strategic you ask is implication. Whenever there is some India Pakistan talk, all of a sudden some surprise comes up. So even I can visualize some false flag operation in the gap of this development as well. So whenever India is under thick soup and the problem domestically, they come up with such like proposals just to keep their people at calm and to give the message to the world that we are the peaceful. But on ground, if they have abrogated the Article 370 and 35A and they have withdrawn their forces and stopped the atrocities in Kashmir, then I would have realized perhaps they are serious. But every that genocide and that the atrocities in Kashmir is going on. So that means this move is a futile move so far. Jay Maria.
Yes, sir. So, sir, what role do you think India have in current shift of Pakistan from geopolitics to geoeconomics?
Okay, this is the worldwide global phenomena, the shifting from geopolitics to geoeconomy. Or this worldwide phenomenon, I think this is a era of where then economic diplomacy matter a lot. This move is good one as a notion, as a concept, and even in a practical manifestation, it is fine. But on account of Pakistan and India, then there is a question arises. Having a trade with India, even at the cost of no discussion on Kashmir, it has another manifestation. It has its own implications. So, government of Pakistan, even foreign minister, even Prime Minister Imran Khan, they have given a clear signal that no economic diplomacy can succeed with India until unless there is the reversal of Article 370 and 35A. पहले उसको first of all you reverse it, then we will go for some other talk. And very clear, I think 2 weeks back, Foreign Minister have given a very clear message on account of that. So economic diplomacy as a concept is fine with the rest of the world, but in case of India, we have a reservation. We have made the condition that let's talk on Kashmir, core issue, reverse the situation of 5 August 2019, go back to that position. This is a disputed territory. It is not a bilateral issue. It is an international issue. It is a human tragedy. Let's talk on first, then create a softening in the situation. And then once we are patient with the Kashmir and you are reversing the Article 370, 35A, going back to situation of August 5, 2019, then we may initiate the talk. Then economic diplomacy may work in a positive direction. But without the stated position of the government of Pakistan, I think this economic diplomacy will not work in case of India, or otherwise it's fine with rest part of the world. For south, for north, for east, for west, it works.
So we have witnessed Sino-Indian East Ladakh standoff. So what can Pakistan learn from that?
I think it's a very interesting question as well. I think that the Sino Indo standoff which took place at Ladakh, and this brought humiliation to India, by the way, with this. And despite the human losses, they kept quiet. And this standoff has its own strategic implication to the region as well. First of all, Ladakh, China believes that it's a disputed territory like Kashmir, so they don't accept the the legal or the political position of India. One, if Ladakh is disputed, we believe that Kashmir is equally disputed territory. And secondly, India, China, once they got in stand-up position there. So what was the motive? Why they went for it? You know that how the Indians were moving slowly and gradually pacing towards the GB area, and their motive was uh, develop their military consolidation in that area. After having consolidated militarily, then they may cut this China-Pakistan economic corridor, the KKI. So it has that implication that China was very much mindful, because this was the CPAC is one of the offshoot of BRI. It's a flagship project. It has to succeed. So China has very timely intervened and stopped them then and there. So Pakistan believed that Pakistan stand with the position of China. We support China on their point of view on Ladakh. We stand with them. We will support them. And the humiliation which India has met at Ladakh, I think they should also learn the lesson that it was the only neighbor in their neighborhood out of many where earlier they have not this issue come up. This issue of having the confrontation with neighbor, this is the present policy of the Narendra Modi's regime. And you can see that they earlier had the issue with Nepal, the issue with Bangladesh on the recent visit of Modi's. What happened at Dhaka, it's known to everyone. Then uneasiness of Sri Lanka. Though we are the conventional rivals, our position is very much clear. Even Bhutan is uneasy with them. And above all, now they have opened a new front with China. So it means they are already the expansionist designs. Those have been halted, and the hegemonic designs, these are not to be materialized in the present geopolitical configuration at the regional level. So Pakistan support Chinese view. Pakistan believe that China is right on their stance, and we support them, and we don't allow the Indian to move to harm or sabotage this CPAC project, and we will never allow them, and they will never succeed as well. We are quite vigilant.
So, sir, what will be the implications of Indo-US strategic cooperation for the region and particularly for Pakistan?
Okay, I think this is a very, very pertinent question in the present matrix of geopolitics, regionally as well as globally. By the way, why India and US have this strategic alliance? Who is the beneficiary? Who is going to benefit in the long run? And what is the grand strategy of US for allowing India to play its cards on the chessboard of the regional politics? I think things are very much clear. US never wants overtures and the outreach of China in South Asia. US never wants consolidation of China in the Indian Ocean. US never desires that the political and the military and the economic objectives of China to be met in Asia Pacific and in the South China Sea. They never want that BRI should succeed as an economic project in the region and beyond. Then they need a partner to shake hands with them. They need a partner who could work on behalf of US to contain all those interests of China, which I have already outlined to you. Then I think situation becomes clear if we understand the strategic objective of US while joining hands with India. So Pakistan believe that this Indo-US strategic alliance is not only to contain China in the region, its political, economic, and strategic interests, but again, it is also not in the interest of Pakistan as well. If the BRI project is harmed, if the CPAC is harmed, then certainly it has implication for Pakistan. So Pakistan believe that this Indo-US strategic alliance is not only to give an upper edge to India and allowing its hegemonic design in the region, and Pakistan would never like and Pakistan would never support such like things. Had it been for the peaceful, I wish had this strategic alliance been between US and India to resolve the outstanding conflict between Pakistan and India, all issues including Kashmir. Then we would have supported. So Pakistan believes that this Indo-US strategic alliance is against the containment of China, against the interest of China in Asia Pacific, against the interest of China in the South China, against the interest of the China in the Indian Ocean. So Pakistan believes that if China, if US and India they shake hands and it has some positive outcomes, then certainly Pakistan would welcome this development that come forward and get these issues resolved, which are a nuclear flashpoint and which are posing a threat not only to the region but the globe at the large as well.
So, will the success of Gupkar alliance cause the reversal of 5th of August annexation?
Okay, I think again a very pertinent question. So far, development took place 5th August 2019 onward. and how these development matter. Prior to talk on this aspect, let's for the information of our viewers, that what is the Gupkar Declaration? I think it is very interesting first to understand what does that mean. Gupkar, it was a joint resolution that was signed on August 4, 2019 at Gupkar residence by the major political parties in Jammu and Kashmir to oppose New Delhi's decision on abrogation of Article 370, which granted a special status to Kashmir Valley, Jammu and Kashmir. So, this Gupkar residence is a house of national conference, which is presided by Farooq Abdullah at Srinagar, who is the chairman of this alliance, followed by Mahbooba Mufti, and who is the vice president. I try to understand these are the people who somehow been the part of the government of which joined and New Delhi in the past. So this declaration is a political movement by parties like National Conference, Indian National Conference, People Democratic Party, Communist Party of India, Jammu and Kashmir People's Conference, and Awami National Conference. The parties issued a joint statement later on defending Article 370. Then there was a Gupkar declaration which earlier happened in August 4, 2019. Then it was a declaration 2 as well, as after a year of the abrogation of the article. And one party of Stadlon that also moved out from this alliance. Now it is left with six political parties which met on August 20 on 2020. And so on August 22 on 2020. And they signed the Gupkar Declaration, resolved the adhere to the 2019. So they said that we want the government of India to return the people of state the right day before August 5, 2019. So they believe that it is a constitutional battle to settle the issue. But are they going to succeed? This is a very pertinent question. You see who these are, these six parties, how much they have the roots among the people. I think then our response becomes more clear on that. To my reckoning, to my understanding, this Gupkar declaration, the statement, and the alliance is not going to work. Had they been so influential, they would have certainly got convinced New Delhi's and the Modi's regime that abrogate this Article 370 and the special rights which was granted to the people of the Valley of Jammu and Kashmir, in which was in the former 35A. This is written. So it is sufficient time has gone, they could not succeed. So these are the people who already worked on the helm of the affairs of the ruling parties in New Delhi. So I don't see that they are going to succeed because the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is witnessing the worst ever, the crisis, human crisis in the history of this Kashmir. And we can see that the way people have been subjugated, oppressed, suppressed. So they have gone through not only lockdown, double lockdown, triple lockdown, not only COVID, but earlier that. What is their human rights? What went with that? What happened to the people of Kashmir? How they are being marginalized? What the treatment they have given? What happened with the half widows? What happened with the widows? What happened with the missing people? What have been the children? What happened to the children which have the victim and the youngster? They are the victim of the pellet gun. Miseries of Kashmir are still there. And we can see that the 19 million US dollar worth economy of Kashmir that has been ruined by these people. And what happened? We see that the situation is in a manner. The new domicile law which they have given, what they are going, this is the demographic terrorism which the Modi is witnessing to show the world that this is going to be a Hindu majority state slowly and gradually. Over 1 million people so far have been granted new domicile. They have been declared as the citizen of this valley. And what impacted on the people of Kashmir then? Politically, economically, socially, culturally, these are being marginalized. Their
So,
identity is at stake. So I don't see that it's going to succeed in the long run until unless they reverse to the earlier position and they grant the people of Kashmir the right of plebiscite, which they claimed did they move to United Nations in 1948. This is what the Pakistan's national stance.
so, sir, lastly, I would like to ask that what should be Pakistan's strategy to restore Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, or I must say, Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir status?
Well, Pakistan's resolve is very much clear. Pakistan will continue to support them morally and politically on various world fora. We support them, we stand with them, we understand we cannot leave them alone because it is, as Qaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jah said, that it is the jugular vein of Pakistan. Pakistan will continue, we stand with them, and we are supporting them in all the world fora. And the way Prime Minister Imran Khan spoke, UN Security Council last year, this year, the way, and we support and we hats off to the Turkish leadership, Chinese leadership, Malaysian leadership, and the OIC, that the way they are supporting. Even Iran, I must appreciate them. They came up in support of Pakistan. And what Pakistan should continue highlighting the issue of Kashmir at all fora and keep convincing the world that this is not a bilateral issue, this is a nuclear flashpoint. These states are sitting on the brink of war. Any miscalculation from either part could turn this world, South Asia, into hell. If this is turned into hell, then I believe that rest of the globe will also face the ramification and the consequences of this conflict between Pakistan and India. So let US, United Nations, and all the voices of the conscious should come up and stand with the Kashmiris and support them, and they must be given their right of self-determination, plebiscite, and let them decide their fate. And they are the real party of the Kashmir. They should be given the weightage. And this was my take on your last question.
Sir, thank you so very much for taking time out and joining us for today's show.
It's my privilege and my great pleasure to interact you all and to project what is the national stance narrative and what is the real situation. Let's keep on creating the awareness at global and regional and local level on the issues which you have just asked me in various questions. Once again, my all appreciation to you, Mariam Khan, your team, for doing a great job.
Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you so much.
Player. Allah Hafiz and take
Allah
care.
Allah Hafiz.